Slip bobber rigging. I tell you what, slip bobber is a great way to control the depth fishing. And that means you can fish for crappie, walleye, it doesn't make a difference. If you can put the bait in front of the fish, your chances in catching one is big time change. Slip bobbers are not very difficult to set up. Let me take you kind of through the steps of what I got here just to kind of show you how it all works. First off, you need a little bait. In most cases, maybe like a jig. In this case, there's a little Lindy jig there. And you put your leech or minnow or whatever you're fishing for on that. You need enough weight to be able to pull the line through the bobber itself. Now, the next thing is the bobber. Now, the slip bobbers are obviously made because they slip on your line, and they're made specifically to do this. And you can either slide through the bobber itself, sometimes you have to feed it through, but either way, you can buy the combination, it works real well, and that's what you put on next. Then the last thing is the tie. Now, sometimes that can be a little bobber tie. It can also be a little bead there that stops the bobber. But you need to have it be able to be small enough so you can reel up your line and goes right on your reel without a problem. Goes through your eyelets and all that. Then once you get it set, you can adjust this anywhere you need to have it be, and that's the way you control that depth. So when you cast it out there, the jig itself goes down, hits the water, and goes down as the bobber floats on the surface and keeps going until you get the bobber top right like that and it stops. So you got a controlled depth right there. Really quite unique. Now that could be 20 feet deep, it could be 10 feet deep, it can be any depth that you set the bobber stop at. And the neat thing is it reels right up, so you have a short line, you're casting out only a foot or so of line, you can cast it 20 yards away from the boat and fish maybe 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, or just a few inches off the bottom using this bobber stop. It's really unique. I tell you what, a few years ago, Jim Kopjo went out on Chabonneau Lake for an afternoon of some crappie fishing using a slip bobber rig. Let's go back to the archives once again and take a look at Jim on Chabonneau Lake.
Got him. Okay. Definitely a little thicker around the middle there. I'll bait up and do it again. I've got 6-pound line on here. I've gone up from the 4-pound net, and we normally throw those jigs on. But you can go to a thicker main line and maybe a 10-pound, and then go to a barrel swivel, have 4-pound snell, so that if you did snag or break off, it's a lot easier to re-rig, where if you were to break off, lose the bobber, lose the split shot, and lose the whole works, that'd be time consuming to get back into the water. So going with a heavier main line to a snelled line will help minimize your downtime. The crappie will come up sometimes with the bait and make that bobber lay on its side, just like when you're fishing on the cribs. Now you wouldn't think this deep that that would happen, but there it goes. Oh, it came back. Take it again. While they're out there, they're definitely delicately biting today. They're not very aggressive. I guess we should have picked up on that earlier with that slow trolling technique. They really weren't hitting it so hard as almost set the hook themselves. And okay, a small white crappie. we go. There we go. Whatever depth it is they're hanging at, it's cold. But they're all about the same size, so I guess we could say the average size the fish in this school are, you know, pretty consistent. You know, it's funny, sometimes you can fish side by side with somebody, same size line, baits, bobbers, have everything balanced the same, or floats we should say. And one guy for one rod for some reason will outfish the other one. Eliminating all the variables and you still have, for some reason, one is doing better than the other. So. This feels like the bait's gone. No, and he's still kicking. There's another technique you can use with the slip bobbers, and that's relating your bait to bottom more so than the surface. And what we do is bring that hook up, take the weight that you use during ice fishing and clip that onto your hook, send the whole works back down in the water, and we'll get a reading as to how far off of bottom we are. That heavier weight will pull that knot down to the bobber, and we reel down to the surface. And when we pick this up, we're going to see how far from the bottom we actually are. So we're a good 7 or 8 feet. Here's my knot here. So what I'm going to do is get about 2-3 feet from the bottom. All right, and we should be able to see that bobber down there. Okay, so now our bobber, instead of being at a determined depth from surface, we know that we're 3 feet off the bottom. A lot of times you can get some nice catfish or perhaps a walleye off of here, and there's a nice drop off here. Tops out around 14-15 feet, and on this deep side it can be 25-26 feet deep. So by doing that, now we have some baits up at the top, and we have this bait now right on the bottom of that drop, or suspending right across that drop off. Maybe we can target a larger fish. No. Now last winter, I was able to take my Aqua View and drop it down there. And part of the roof, or part of the siding, is still down there. And you can take your bait sometimes, and with that clip-on weight, bounce around till you find a hole in that sheeting. And more times than not, there'll be fish underneath it, but you will never catch those fish fishing above because they'll never see the bait. Where if you can drop it into that hole and they're underneath there for security purposes or whatever, temperature or light penetration, whatever is making them go under there, if your bait's not in the zone, you're not going to catch a fish. Where if you can get right on top of it, vertical, bounce around and find that little hole to drop your bait in, it can be the difference between no fish and a good day. Oh, there was a nice hit too. There he goes. Okay, he's going down. And get the slack up. And we got him. And there we go. Well, Mike, we've gone from beginning to end with this. Maybe we can take this to another target, looking at the map, pick out another structural element, and go through it again and see if we can't find a higher concentration of fish. That's one of those things we talked about earlier that a lot of anglers don't think about. You know, you're catching a few fish here, but maybe there's a higher concentration or more aggressive bite somewhere else on the lake. So putting together what we can more or less say was a pattern, find something that's at this depth, typically you know, deep water, 20-22 foot, and see if we can't find something that is vertical sticking up, be it a barn foundation, brush pile, tree, and try to mimic this same pattern at another end of the lake. So why don't we go ahead and wrap up and we'll do that. There it is. There he goes. He's barely going down with it too. And I missed him. But at least I got a depth. I'm only down about 9-10 feet. And that's what the depth finder was telling us. I'll go to a little bit smaller minnow. Get right back to where we were. I know I'm only 9 or 10 feet with this one, so I'll bring the other one up from the 17 and go to 9. Okay, we got one going down. Got him. Okay. Well, it took a while to get onto him, but we did. And using the electronics, happened to see that the fish were at a different depth, changed our knot, brought the baits up a little bit, and we made contact again. And that's what it's all about, trying to stay on them. And slip bobber is an excellent technique for precision depth control. Hope I clarified any questions you might have had about using this. It's an awesome technique. Hopefully in the future we can get on to higher numbers. We didn't reflect that in the catch today, but maybe in a future time we can up that catch ratio. So I enjoyed doing it with you as always, Mike, and hopefully I showed it so that simplified it as much as possible. So I'm gonna go back and catch a few more. Maybe that big one's out there.